So as the 2022 Sevens Series comes to a close, both of these sides in this semi-final still have a chance of being able to take out the trophy. So in this video, we will be doing our preview for the upcoming semi-final match between Fiji and Australia. But nonetheless, we will jump straight into it. It's going to be an epic contest. Both sides undefeated up till this point. It's actually quite an interesting stat because both of the teams on the other side of the draw, New Zealand and Samoa, both undefeated until this point. But the way that it sits currently, 3 teams can be crowned as the overall 2022 Sevens champions. If Australia finish first, second or third, they will be crowned as the Sevens champions. If Fiji manage to win it and Australia do finish 4th, then Fiji will be crowned champions. And then if Fiji finish second, Australia finish 4th, then South Africa have still got a chance of being able to close it out. But we will jump straight into the previous matches for both of these sides. Fiji, they had their first opening game up against the Welsh. They were able to win it 28 points to 12. A nice warm-up game for the Fijians as they headed into their next game, which was going to be a little bit more challenging. It was up against the French, and in that game, Fiji winning at 29 points to 19. France put them under some huge pressure at times, but Fiji, they were able to find their way out of it, getting a couple important tries with Talatholo, and they did manage to close out that game also. And then they had their third game up against the Irish, who were the side who made it through to the quarterfinals on New Zealand's side of the draw, and they were able to beat them 21 points to 7. So that booked them a spot in the quarters, and they were head-to-head with the USA. Now that game before it happened, I was a little bit cautious of the USA because at the end of the day, it's the LA Sevens. They had home field advantage, although the way that the crowd were cheering for Fiji, you would have thought it was in Suva. They were absolutely going nuts for the Fijians, and in the end, Fiji, they used that to their advantage. Also, the skills on the field talked for themselves, and they won it 28 points to 12. So they booked themselves through to the semi-final to take on the Australians. Now looking at the path that Australia have taken to make it to the semis, they had their first opening game up against Japan, in which they were able to win it 61 points to 0. So a pretty good start to the LA Sevens, you'd have to say, for the Aussies. Then their next game, it was a tightly contested one up against Argentina, but they were able to win it 19 points to 14, which was quite a crucial win, as in the end it meant that they were playing up against Kenya rather than playing Samoa in the quarterfinals. And we did see Samoa knock out Argentina in golden point time, so that could have been Australia if they had been facing up against Samoa. And then their last game was up against Spain. It's a young Spanish side, but Australia didn't care. They still bet them 54 points to 0 in that contest, and that helped them book themselves first place in their group and then allowed them to move on to their quarterfinal match. Now, I did mention a bit earlier on that they were head-to-head with Kenya, and they were able to get themselves a 42 points to 14 win. They were actually down by 7 at the start of that contest, but then continued to dig deep, finding little gaps in the Kenyan defense. Corey Toole, coming off the bench, had a real impact, and also a couple of those guys in the starting lineup, such as Henry Patterson and also Matt Gonzalez, were able to do very nicely throughout that quarterfinal. But now we will talk about key players for both of these teams who I feel will be able to step up. There's a bit of an injury concern at the moment for Fiji. We did see Waisia Nathunu actually stayed down near the end of that game up against the USA, which was quite a concern as he has been terrific throughout the Sevens series. So for that reason, I'm not going to pick him just in case he isn't actually going to be playing in the match. Instead, first name Josefa Talatholo. He has been great. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the stride to go with it, and he has been running in tries for fun throughout this competition. And then another player for Fiji that I'm looking at, it is Kiminale Rasaku. He has been everywhere throughout the first 4 matches for the Fijians. I believe he started every game as well, which is great to see how fit the man is, and it may be needed in that last game. They played for an extra minute or 2 longer than they would have wanted to up against the USA, but Kiminale Rasaku, he's going to give you 110%. Also very handy when it comes to a loose ball, able to jump on it and get that acceleration going straight away. Then for Australia, I did mention him earlier on, I'm going Matthew Gonzalez. Seems like he's really finding some great form throughout this Sevens tournament in Los Angeles. And also him and Josh Turner are making magic in that midfield. So that is something that I don't think will change in this next match. I believe they will start Turner and they will start Gonzalez, and they will be a dangerous combo. And then the last name that I've got for the Australians, even though he may come off the bench in this match rather than starting, I'm going to go Maurice Longbottom. I could have gone Corey Toole for his explosive pace, but Maurice Longbottom, every time he's come off the bench, he's been able to have some sort of impact for the Australians. In that last game up against Kenya, he was able to score a try that helped get Australia back on the try-scoring path. And I think with that amount of experience that he's got, he will certainly be handy up against the Fijians. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for watching. Do let me know your score predictions in the comments down below for who you think will be able to take out this exciting contest. But thank you all very much for being here, and I will see you all for the next one.